Well, hello there. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Brianna the Barb, and you are now tuned in to the BarbWire podcast.
You are now tuned in to BarbWire, where the tea's hot and the vibe's even hotter. Spilling that tea, giving you life, talking about love, dishing that advice. Your hostess with the mostest, in charge is Brianna the Barb. BarbWire.
Testing, testing, testing. Is this thing on? Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me live from the BarbWire newsroom. I'm so happy to have you and appreciate you for tuning in. This is a platform that I created as a safe space to have conversations about a plethora of topics. I'd like us to get into discussions about lifestyle, love, pop culture, and everything else in between. And my main priority on this platform is being sure that I'm not just talking at people. I kind of want to, talk with people, talk to people. So I just really want to make sure that you guys are aware that this is a dialogue. Despite this being a solo podcast, I really want you guys to talk back to me so that, we can have conversations honestly with a lot of empathy and just providing new perspectives for one another. So I'm really excited for BarbWire and what we have in store. If we come across a topic today that moves you, I would love for you to chime in the comments section below. I don't mind if you disagree with me. I don't mind if you provide new insight. I actually want you to challenge me and other folks in the comment section because that's what makes this type of content beneficial for all of us to learn, grow, and evolve. And I'm particularly excited about this episode because this episode is going to be unlike the rest for the remainder of this season. And that's because, one, this is a pilot. This is our starter episode. We're finding our footing. This is episode one. But also, two, this is a reintroduction. For a lot of you, you have been subscribers of my channel for years. I started YouTube when I was back in maybe middle school. All of my videos are now since archived, okay? I couldn't live with the cringe. I know we like to see the progress, bitch, I don't, okay? So, yes, who am I? First and foremost, my name is Brianna. I'm a Philly based communication and media professional. I have a passion for storytelling, brand building, and creating space to hold conversations. That's pretty much what I do. And I am essentially PR trained to speak myself into and out of all types of situations. So, one thing that you have to look forward to on this podcast is a lot of insight, storytelling, and just the right amount of tea in crisis management. And if you don't take anything else away from who I am, what I do, or what I stand for, just know that I'm the bitch that'll be entertaining you for the next few minutes until my mouth gets dry and I get tired of yapping. And some of you all might be experiencing deja vu because a lot of this may not be new to you. You know the face, you know the name, and also BarbWire is actually not a new concept at all either. So BarbWire was actually launched back in April of 2021. This was 5 years ago. And it's so crazy because I'm sitting in 2026, also in the month of April, um, reigniting an old passion project. So at the time, BarbWire was an audio only podcast. You could, listen wherever you get your podcasts. And I talked about the same things, really. It was, I had an advice column. I talked about pop culture, and I really used it more so as a audio diary than actual content. It was really more for me to reflect on and look at later because as I was rebranding for this rollout, I went and archived my old episodes and it felt like a time capsule. I was exactly back to Brianna in my bedroom and my, family home with my little iPhone wired headphones talking about whatever I wanted to talk about. And that was very fun for me. But unfortunately, I did experience a very traumatic and unforeseen event shortly after launching the podcast. And that was actually the passing of my mother. She passed away in August of 2021. And my mom has always been my biggest supporter. When people be like, "Oh, my mom tells me she not one of my little friends," I be quiet because that lady was one of my little friends. Okay. She motivated me to do everything. She thought that I was Superwoman Junior. She was Superwoman. I was Supergirl. Okay. She always encouraged me. And, when I would write my little scripts for my podcast at the time, she would always give me feedback. She would let me know, "Okay, girl, like you ranting too much. Let's bring it back." Like, she was the person that kept me on task with that project. And naturally, with losing a parent, you also lose the will to do things that you once enjoyed. So that situation really rocked my world. I mean, experiencing loss is already a very frustrating, confusing, sad, and pivotal moment. But loss of a parent is a whole different level of pain and confusion that I can't even really explain, nor would I wish on my worst, 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 worst enemy. So at that time, shortly after launching BarbWire, I was faced with this identity crisis, really, because first of all, losing a mother is insane because our mothers grow us, okay? They're our first soul tie because they literally keep us in their womb for 9 months. Okay. So losing a mom is like losing a fragment of yourself. At least that's what it was like for me. We had a very healthy relationship. We spent every second together. We lived together. We were besties. So I didn't even know who I was. And because Barbed Wire was a lot about me sharing my opinions and providing advice, I just felt a little bit of, what's the word? Imposter syndrome, because I'm like, how can I sit here and advise other people when I'm aimless in my own life, in my own mind, in my own body? It felt disingenuous. So I stepped away. And when I stepped away, I didn't know that it would be for 5 years, but I took the time that I needed. I didn't have any creative juices. It's hard to be creative when you're in, survival mode. I don't think that people understand being creative takes a level of leisure to do. I feel like if I did create, I would have created poorly. I would have half assed it. And that's just never been my brand. I've never been a girl to half step. And I'm just like, I'm fighting for my sanity right now. I can't pour into my little passion projects. I stepped away from my business. I stepped away from this podcast. I stepped away from like everything. I was in a cocoon, didn't know if I was coming or going. At the time, I just didn't have it in me to pour from an empty cup. And looking back, I took the time that I needed. Obviously, I don't regret that. But a part of me kind of wishes that I worked through my mourning, worked through my hardship, and kind of spoke on it, because I could have been the person that I was looking for when I was going through what I was going through. Just to provide a little bit of background on me. So, yes, I did experience the passing of my mom as a young adult. But before that, I had also experienced the passing of my father. So at the time, I felt completely orphaned because there was no security net or anything for me to lean on for support. And just me speaking on creativity being a luxury, it's hard to be fantastical and whimsical when you feel like everything in your orbit is crashing and burning. But sometimes you need to show up a mess, and it could be healing for you and also healing for someone on the other side. At the time, I probably would have killed for someone to sit in front of the camera and be like, "Girl, you're not going crazy. Okay. What you're experiencing is abnormal for someone your age to be," however old I was, 22, and completely orphaned and having to pivot in households, pivot in career. I moved out of the state. I just had to get on my grind because there was no more I'm someone's daughter. It was just I'm an adult and I have to make shit shake. And there's probably, well, I'm sure there's someone doing that right now that feels lost. And I could have been that virtual big sister, that virtual friend to help someone get through that. But I'm proud that I even had the faith and drive to start over. And this time I'm not starting from ground zero. I'm not starting from scratch. I'm starting from experience. So I actually have a lot more insight to provide. I've lived a little bit more. I have more wisdom. The main thing that I want to talk about is starting even when things don't feel stable, and starting without having everything all together. So I know one of my personal problems, which this has always been the case, is I'm a chronic perfectionist. I need the scene to be right. I need the equipment to be right. I need the lights to be right. I need, all of that. And I waited so long because I didn't have things in order. And I still don't have them in order because I decided to just not give a fuck and start. I can say that there are a lot of people that have managed to surpass me in progress, where we have maybe started content at the same time, started careers at the same time, started whatever the case may be, just because they had the nerve to keep doing it and keep showing up. And I didn't. And that's a word for y'all too on the other side. Don't let people pass you up just because you don't see your own potential and you're nervous about getting things off the ground. People with less talent than you, less knowledge than you, will pass you just because they have more drive. Okay. And that's the real tea. And it's really nothing wrong with that, because if you work your butt off, you deserve to be up there. But don't play yourself in not also being that person. One thing that I do want to challenge all of my viewers to do is absorb what people around you are telling you, because sometimes people see things in you that you don't yet see. A personal anecdote that I have about that, well, I have several because this kept happening, um, was with my friends speaking life into like my business and my content creation journey, when I'm like, girl, like whatever, like I'll revisit that when I see fit, but like not right now, girl. I'm just trying to, stay up right now. Okay? But I would literally be out with my girls. We'll be having a game night. Even if we didn't have like cards or anything, I was always the person that would lead the discussion. And these discussions would always take us down into these rabbit holes where we're unpacking each other's, who we are at our core, our traumas, everything. I was always the catalyst for thought. And without fail, my friends would always be like, girl, like you need to start a podcast. Like go ahead and buy that podcast equipment, boo. Like we need you to speak life into other people. And I just didn't see it for me. I'm like, girl, I'm your homegirl. Like, of course I'm gonna speak life into you. But they were telling me that it was an inherent trait that I had, where even if I'm meeting strangers at the function, we're shooting the shit and we're unpacking their whole childhood or their self-doubt or their esteem. And I'm always at the center of that conversation and leading the conversation. And I just didn't see it for myself. I'm like, girl, I'm a regular person. Like, I don't have anything to say. Like, I don't even know if people would listen to me. And they saw it for me. And had I started when I was hearing that feedback, I would be in a way different place right now. But sometimes we don't see it for ourselves. And that's why it's important to have friends, and it's important to have a village and a community, because they're observing you and they'll tell you about yourself, whether that's good, bad, indifferent. But I appreciate that because here I am today. So shout out to my girls for that, because I probably would have never picked up the microphone. I would have just, once upon a time had this cute little podcast, and that would have been the end of that. Another point in a very similar vein, for me personally, after experiencing such a traumatic situation, I suddenly did not want to be perceived. I didn't want to be thought about. I didn't want people to form opinions about me, because at the time, and my friends can speak to this as well, and my own family, something in my personality definitely cracked. I wouldn't say that it was for better or for worse, but I definitely became different, and I was becoming increasingly aware of the difference in my character and the way that I thought. Someone who was once very playful, I became more of a recluse. I was reserved. I didn't trust anyone. I had the idea that if I got close to people, I would lose them. I became a bit more detached. So when I would get in front of a camera, it felt weird because I'm like, I wonder what people are like thinking about me. Like, do I seem off? Like, is this different? But it's like, babe, you are different. Anybody would be. But I didn't like that. I didn't like that I couldn't control the narrative and the way that people saw me. And for whatever reason, um, in the past, I have been very polarizing. I feel like I'm such a boring, regular, schmegular person. Well, not boring, not too much, boo. I don't think that. But I have been polarizing where some people took my personality when I was way out there as a negative thing. And then when it pivoted as a negative thing. So it's like, girl, I can't win for losing. I'm just going to act the way that I act. A big part of just not using my voice, not getting on camera, sleeping on my gifts was because I didn't want people to perceive me and decide that they didn't like what I was doing, which is so crazy because I've never been the type of person to care until after certain things happen. I will say confidently that I found my voice again. I had 5 years to find it. Sat with myself for 5 years and learned a lot of things um, about myself that I never would have if I never took the time to not be perceived and then be able to pop out and not care if I am. So while I was away, I learned that, I'm very resilient. I learned that I'm very resourceful. I learned that I'm amazing at pivoting. I can literally make a way out of no way. I call myself Miss Make It Happen because I've been my own security net for so long. And if I fall, I always fall on my feet. It's so crazy because since I've been away, I've had friendship crash outs, I've had relationships phase out. And it's like, there's definitely somebody out there like preying on my downfall. And it's like, damn, bitch, you just don't die. I just don't. And seeing that in action just makes me optimistic about everything. I'm just like, I can do anything. I'm restarting everything. I'm living life. I'm only 28 years old. This is my 15th life. I don't even care. I will always get up and try again. It might take me a while. I might stumble. I might stay down for a little bit, but I'm going to always try. If something goes wrong, pivot. If you are facing hardship, don't be afraid to step away, but start again. You get your heart broken, you love again. You mourn, you take time, you heal again. You know, that's what life is all about. So that kind of sums up my piece on that. But before I come to a close, I do want to introduce you guys to a recurring segment on BarbWire, and it's called Ask the Barb. This is actually my advice column. At Ask the Barb, you submit a question, you can rant, you can advise me. I might pose a question. Like I said, this is a dialogue. Yeah, I take submissions. I'll have the link to the form down below in the description box. I did get a few submissions, but I am only going to read one today for this episode. I'm going to save the juicier ones for the episodes to come. But someone asked, give us the full rundown: life update, work, dating, what's next? What can we expect? What have you learned in your time away? Now, I did answer most of these questions in my yapping, but I will say that one, work is good. First of all, in this economy, I'm just blessed to have a career. And it is very buttoned up working in like the marketing sphere. So I feel like I have a good balance in life right now where I'm playing like adult simulator for 8 hours a day at work. And now that I have BarbWire, I can come home and be whimsical and fantastical and drink my wine, pop my shit. I feel like that's a good balance. It's keeping me sane. Yeah, so that's that with work. Dating. There is no romantic updates that I can provide. I just feel like once my frontal lobe developed, I had no desire to date. Like, I don't know. I just feel like my brain has matured to the age of like 45, and it's just really nothing out there. Two, I also just really value my peace. I really value my dignity. You could date a man, um, or you can have your dignity, but you're not going to have both. Like, I've heard that saying, and it's a Fendi fact. Like, you can have a man or you can have some dignity, but you ain't gonna have both. So for that, I've just opted out. I still do date technically. Like, if someone asks me out, I'll have a conversation. We'll go to dinner, do the things. If it goes somewhere, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm not like breaking my back to find a significant other. It would be nice. I'm a lover girl through and through. Yeah. And when people talk about, oh, I just know somebody don't play about you, I be quiet because people meet me and play like they've never played before. I've just opted out. What I've learned, I spoke about this a little bit earlier, enjoying my own company, character development, my skill sets, my abilities, and learning to not let hardships stop me. Answer the last question, what to expect in the future. Pretty much more character development and me doing it on camera this time. Whereas I went on a hiatus last time, I actually want to learn and grow in front of you guys. So I'm really excited to do that. And yes, that pretty much wraps up today's episode. Again, I will have a link to the Ask the Barb Google form down below in the description box. Please, please, please provide your submission and follow us on Instagram at barbwire.pod because I will be posing questions, specific questions that I would like answers to. So I would love you guys to do that. But thank you so much for joining me. I am signing off. And until next time.